The views expressed on the Nova Society are those of the panelists and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the Phoenix Research Institute or any institution which any panel member is associated.
I'd like to welcome everyone back to the Nova Society. I'm your host, Dr. Brooklyn Ann Weldon, and I'm here with my panel, Dr. Scott Gershfor and Dr. Mark Bound. And today we were going to take a look at what more Trump is threatening against universities. He was threatening Harvard now with removing their tax-exempt status, and also threatening to withdraw accreditation from any number of universities that are on his removal list or on his hate list, or whatever, enemies list. I don't even know what to call it. So what are your thoughts on that? Because that would invalidate, would that not, I mean, I realize that he can't do that, but that's not going to stop him. Would that not invalidate everyone's degrees who's ever graduated from that institution? I'm curious about your thoughts.
I don't know if it invalidates anything. Accreditation is, I mean, there's just not one accreditation agency. I mean, I have to admit not knowing a lot about all the accreditation principles and all the different ones, because you got the accreditation of Southern colleges, you got the Northern colleges, you've got this set of colleges, that set of colleges. So there's all sorts of different ones. So my question then would be: is he going to try to take back accreditation from all of these different agencies, or just the one that deals with Harvard? I honestly think this is just more noise than it is anything else. A lot of people look at Harvard, and I've always said this, somebody says, well, he's a Harvard lawyer. He didn't learn any other different law than they learned on at our modern Nova Southeastern. They all taught the same law. I mean, it's not like they got some special, edict from God or anything that made them, there's the prestige of the university itself. So, but the fact is a Harvard lawyer is not any better than a lawyer from Michigan. I mean, I'm sorry, it's just kind of the way it works, because everybody learns the law. Now, can you have better professors? Yes. But does that mean every Harvard professor is a great professor? No. Some of them are there just because, they haven't had an original thought in 25 years, but they made money off of it 25 years ago. And I always think of Cornell West whenever I think of that. So for all the Cornell West fans, sorry. Cornell, great guy, has some great ideas, hasn't really had an original thought in 25 years, and everything he writes now is basically a regurgitation of everything he wrote before, but he offers no answers. So stop telling me what the problem is, start telling me what the answers are, then maybe we could talk. Anyway, poor Cornell. I'm sure he'll forgive me for that. Maybe not. But I mean, so this whole thing is a way to, take that base, those people. And again, I don't care if you are the street cleaner or the garbage man. It's honest work. It's making an honest living. You are a necessity to society. Be proud. We cannot have this caste system of, the academics and the educated against the workers. You can't have that. Everybody has something to society that they add to it. So to say, the guy that picks up your trash is any lesser than the person that teaches your kid calculus in college is wrong. However, people do get that mindset. I'm the trash collector. Everybody looks down upon me. Those damn academics, those elites, they are terrible. And it's sometimes drilled into them, because we've drilled into them that there's a caste system that exists. And the fact is that there isn't, but it's been drilled into us as society, as the United States. It has been drilled that, yes, the dream is to, do all this stuff, get educated, all that stuff. And if you don't, although nobody says you're a failure, inside you probably feel that you are. So why not take down Harvard and Yale and Dartmouth and, Cambridge and all these other places. Yeah, let's bring them right down to size. And that's one of the reasons that I think Trump got elected, was because people have had that drilled into them, that caste system drilled into them. And then they said, let's bring down the big boys, whoever they are, whoever they might be. And we're going to bring them down to size, and we're going to take that back. And by bringing them down, we elevate ourselves. But what people don't understand is when you bring somebody down, you take yourself down as well.
So, I didn't go to Harvard, but what I'm about to say, I think I learned at another great institution of learning, PS 236 in Brooklyn, is that, education, it needs to be free. Education needs to be needs to be sort of localized. Education needs to be free of the government interference as best we could possibly do it. We don't want indoctrination. We want education. And what Trump is trying to do right now is change that to make the greatest institutions of learning in our country, the Ivy League schools first, and then everybody else will follow, have more quote unquote viewpoint diversity, and saying that every department at these schools should have to meet a standard for viewpoint diversity. And if they don't, they are forced to hire a critical mass of faculty to meet those viewpoints and to allow more students in who have viewpoint diversity. At the same time, they're stating that the hated DEI programs, under whatever name they be called, must be stopped. The DEI program, what we used to call affirmative action, was instituted so that we would have viewpoint diversity in our schools. So it seems to be contradictory or poorly thought out, or what he's really doing is calling, in a less blatant way, perhaps, for more right wingers to be admitted to Harvard and for more right wingers to teach at Harvard. That kind of interference should frighten people, because it's not one of the jobs of the government to tell institutions how to educate people. And so, we're at a great American standoff within, U.S. Constitution, with the way things have always developed when it came to the independence of schools. Of course, as everybody knows and understands, the federal government froze $2.2 billion in grants and $60 million in government contracts to the university, which is going to prevent them from doing the research that the government has always looked to our institutions of higher learning to do, right? Medical and engineering, scientific fields, treatments for diseases like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, diabetes, cancer, breakthroughs in artificial intelligence, so on and so forth, economic security, all kinds of stuff. And using that as a cudgel against these schools until they allow more right-wing professors to teach there. Again, I'm not really sure. I'm trying to think. I think I do know one right-wing professor. There may be more than that, but I can really only think of one off the top of my head. And generally speaking, I think educators are interested in objectivity as best that they can do it within the limits of understanding your own biases, bracketing them, and keeping them aside. But this, this sort of takeover of the Ivy League and other institutions of higher learning, I think should be troubling to people. And I guess I'll just stop there.
Well, I do know that there are both national and regional accreditation, and that to have the degree accepted fully, including by other countries, the places like Stanford and University of California system, they are accredited by both regional and national accrediting bodies. I'm trying to think of any conservative professor I know. I really can't think of anybody. And I mean but that's not, I mean, to have a liberal or a conservative professor is not the purpose of education. The purpose is to have students think critically about what they're learning, and to read the content and understand the content and apply it to their own operating paradigm, and understand, well, first of all, understand what various theories and operating paradigms are, and what various scholars have already written, and to perform a critical analysis and arrive at what their own understandings are. It's not up to the professor to say what the person should be thinking. So I mean, but again, I think that you're correct, both of you, in what you're saying. They want to, they being the public is behind, or some of the public at least is behind, taking down them with the view that this is somehow going to improve their own lives, when destroying education at any level is not going to improve anybody's life. As far as teaching the law of the United States is the law of the United States. I mean, there's not separate laws of the United States. And teaching economics, there's a finite number of scholars who work in economics, and schools will have, universities, for example, will have different perspectives, like where we went at Nova Southeastern in terms of teaching conflict analysis and resolution. There was ICAR in Georgia, and George Mason had a program, and there was another program in Europe, and each program had a slightly different focus on what part of conflict analysis and resolution it would focus on. And the student could choose what school to go to based on what was more interesting for the student. And that has nothing to do with in my view, between liberal and conservative. That had to do with whether you were more interested in an international focus, or more interested in maybe in negotiation, or whatever it might be.
Right. So,
go ahead,
Brooke, do you mind?
No.
You know, one of the reasons that I think we have such trouble articulating what it is that Trump is doing is because I don't think he's very good at articulating what Trump is doing. And it's hard to know exactly what a guy is doing when he can't articulate it himself. But it occurs to me that you're the one who brought up the example of Curtis Yarvin a few months ago. And we did a podcast about Curtis Yarvin. And Curtis Yarvin is a guy, for those of you who need a refresher, who's, a crackpot theorist who believes that the United States democracy has run its course, that it is no longer compatible with capitalism, that what we need in this country is not a U.S. president, but a CEO who can run the country like a business, and that Trump is right now their person for the job. I don't think he was the preferred person for the job, but he is the one, and none of the other people who were, like Peter Thiel, could be elected, right? Peter Thiel, is multimillionaire, a billionaire, whatever he is, very wealthy, tech bro, sponsor of J.D. Vance, who presumably will ascend to the throne after Trump is done with it. And one of the things that Curtis Yarvin said needed to be done was to destroy these institutions. To destroy Harvard, destroy the New York Times, destroy the courts, destroy anything that can get in your way. And it's pretty hardball stuff. It's pretty ugly, but this is what they believe they need to do. And Trump, in his ham-handed way, is doing it. And I think that's kind of where we are right now.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's sort of like everything that Trump tries to do, and I think this is one of the reasons that his popularity has dropped down so low, is they do not articulate the message, because everybody should know. Remember, that's what we always said. If he says, "Well, everybody knows that, everybody knows this," he's probably telling a lie. And the idea that he can't articulate what exactly direction, that's really what it makes hard for us to be able to address some of these things, because we can't tell. We cannot tell what the direction is going to be. I mean, we've said that so many times here. What's the end game? Well, we can't figure it out. We're three pretty educated people, and of an age where we should be able to figure some of this stuff out. And the bottom line is that sometimes we're sitting there scratching our heads going, what is going on here? And so that's happening a lot with the constituency. They're looking at it and saying, what's going on here? So it's very difficult to say why he would want to do this with accreditation. Maybe it has something to do with, I don't know, accreditation with Trump University, which was never accredited. Who knows? He doesn't like judges because, judges have slapped him around a few times. Maybe he doesn't like accreditation agencies because Trump University, which was a huge scam, didn't get a credit. I don't know. It's almost impossible to put a logic to what goes on. But I can say this: you take away accreditation, now you're going to have those Trump universities are going to pop up all over the place. The reasons that they don't exist as much today is because if you go to a job and you've got a degree from a non-accredited school, like What's a Ma to You? So for anybody that remembers Rocky and Bullwinkle, that's What's a Ma to You? Or wherever, and it's not accredited, generally they won't accept it. They won't accept it for, higher education. That's like, how many people have been, and I understand the argument. I think it's called Concord University. It's in California. In fact, there was somebody that I actually went during my master's program who did not graduate, the master's in law, didn't graduate, and switched over to get her JD from Concord University in California, all online. The only state in the union where that degree is recognized is California. You can't sit for the Bar Association in any other state because Concord University is not accredited. So the Bar Association in every other state. So yeah, if you want to go practice law in California, sure, go ahead. Go to Concord University, you can do it all online. But if you're living in South Carolina or New York or Connecticut or, Maine, unless you want to move to California, don't bother. So this is what accreditation offers. It sets that standard. Why wouldn't you want it? I mean, again, maybe it's because Trump University could never meet that standard, and now he's mad at them. So I don't know. Anyway.
But with his head of his education department, I can't remember her name.
McMahon.
Thank you.
Mrs. McMahon.
Thank you. I believe he wanted her to look into this. can't he, I don't even know if an accreditation body is a board, or how that works, if Trump can fire everybody on the board, or have McMahon fire everybody on the board and they can hire whomever they wish, and then have just deaccredit, whatever the word is, have every university who doesn't agree to get rid of DEI lose accreditation from both regional and national level. I don't know. I mean, that is the type of move that I think would earn a huge lawsuit, and I think is another reason why universities in general should all get together and follow Harvard's lead and refuse to bow down now, rather than trying to get rid of their DEI.
Let's make America dumb again.
Yeah. So no, if I think that universities cannot give in or accede to any of this pressure. And that's all I have. Anything else, Scott? Nope. And so, thank you, everyone. Thank you again for spending some of your time with us on the Nova Society. And look out for each other. And as Mark said last time, look out for those ICE agents. And it's not funny, so I shouldn't be laughing. It's just, I still cannot believe that we are here in the United States with what amounts to a Gestapo organization. So do take care, and we'll see you again next time.
The Nova Society is a production of Nova Society Media, a division of the Phoenix Research Institute. We'd like to thank our production partners, Buzzsprout, who hosts the Nova Society, Audacity, our editing partners, Apple iTunes, the largest source of podcasts and music on the internet, Spotify, the most popular platform for the Nova Society, and iHeartRadio, your source for all things music and podcasting. The Nova Society is available on all of these and other quality platforms listed in our description. We'd also like to thank all of our listeners. Without your support, the Nova Society would not be possible. If you have a question or comment, we can be reached at nova.society.podcast@gmail.com. So for Dr. Brooklyn Ann Weldon, Dr. Scott Gershwer, and all of our production partners here at the Nova Society, I'm Dr. Mark Bound. Remember, the true power in society is knowledge. Thanks for listening, and we will see you again next time.
Hi, everyone. This is JJ, the co-founder of Good Pods. If you haven't heard of it yet, Good Pods is like Goodreads or Instagram, but for podcasts. It's new, it's social, it's different, and it's growing really fast. There are more than 2 million podcasts, and we know that it is impossible to figure out what to listen to. On Good Pods, you follow your friends and podcasters to see what they like. That is the #1 way to discover new shows and episodes. You can find Good Pods on the web or download the app. Happy listening!